Sizing up Murphy, drives, floats, hangs, and scores on the turnaround. J-Dub way behind the three-point line and hits way behind the three-point line. Got blocked. What a rejection by Holmgren. Standing tall like a wall.
This is Dart. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up, and welcome to the Uncontested podcast. Coming to you live Sunday, February 16th, right after the NBA All-Star games, plural. We are brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network and our friends over at Prairie Ales. Make sure to go get some Prairie beers. Justin, you happen to be drinking a Prairie beer tonight?
Cheers. Indeed.
Never fails.
I'm holding on tightly to the last few cans of Seasick Crocodile, my favorite beer, Prairie's annual Christmas beer. And I'm going to try to ride this train all the way to the summer if I can.
Nice. Well, I'm your host for the night, Jacob Niffen. Got my guy, Justin Peabody, with me.
Hello, everybody.
We may be joined by Taylor Peterson in a bit. He has a child that won't go to sleep. So
it'd be like that sometimes.
Don't we all? So, Justin, I figured a little bit of a shorter show tonight as we are in the middle of All-Star Weekend. The Thunder last played Thursday night in a not super fun basketball game. And they don't play again until Friday night against a late game against the Utah Jazz. So we're in an 8-day stretch with no Thunder hoops. We can talk about the All-Star Weekend. I don't know how much there is to talk about that we will say that other people will not say, so we can keep it kind of short there. And then we'll do some Prairie Trivia, and then I thought maybe afterwards we could just dive into the last 30 games of the Thunder season, thoughts, expectations, and what things look like moving forward.
Love it.
So it doesn't have to be specifically Sunday night game. Again, I don't want to spend a lot on All-Star Weekend because what are we going to say that's going to be different than every other 1,000 NBA podcasts that are out there? It's not going to be much different. But any thoughts on All-Star Weekend?
Well, in the spirit of the All-Star game, we're going to take a quick break. No, I'm kidding. It was brutal tonight, man. The games itself, it was tough.
Themselves?
I just sat and watched TNT for the better part of 3 hours and watched about 45 minutes of basketball.
Yep.
That's tough. The actual basketball was not bad for the most part. I was optimistic about the format. I thought the first two games showed the positives of said format. The last game showed all the negatives because you took a 30-minute timeout when the last game was 11-1 to celebrate the TNT crew, amongst other things. And the first 5-ish minutes of basketball after that extended timeout was some of the worst basketball I've ever seen. And I just got done coaching a group of 8-year-olds at the YMCA. It was tough. If you kept the format and you actually made it, just tightened everything up a little bit, maybe went a little higher than the target score of 40, reduced the breaks just to a reasonable amount. I think this format could work, but tonight was not the best showcase of it. We watched Dub play for all of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That sucks. We got to see Shai for maybe double that. Mark pulled him pretty early and it looked like he had him sitting on the bench waiting to check back in. And then the other team got up to 36 out of their target 40, and Mark just had him come sit back down.
Yep.
Wild.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously there's no basketball being played.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get to watch basketball, and the team Shai was on had to sit through the second game that had all the timeouts.
Right.
And then go to the post game where we had to hear Draymond Green, who is in the NBA, talk so much trash about the NBA.
I don't get that either, man. Like, this is not a new talking point, but make the people the face of your league that actually enjoy the product that's being put out there. It's not difficult.
Yeah.
It's not difficult.
So Shai played, sat through another game, sat through a post game of a game, and then sat through a San Francisco Bay Area concert, and then played for like 4 minutes, and then sat through half an hour of TNT stuff.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why they come in and they miss shots.
Yeah, right. It's tough. It's tough to preach we want the players to try hard and make it competitive when you put on a production like tonight.
Yep.
The basketball was not the centerpiece of tonight. And that's fine if that's the route you want to go, but you cannot ask the players to be competitive and then make them sit for 30 minutes in the middle of the game and hand out fishing poles to the TNT announcers. That's insane. As far as the actual basketball goes, Shai won the first game. That was kind of fun. Like he got the winning points. He scored the last 5 for his team. Dub had a sick alley-oop finish. That was really fun. So that part was neat.
Mm-hmm. You know what was not neat? Sorry, I feel like this is a bunch of like poo-pooing on,
please,
and everyone's going to do this, and I don't want to be negative. I just, you know who was on that court the most tonight? Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart.
And I don't want to. Why? But anyways,
yeah.
I'm about
even Shai was like rolling his eyes, saying like, "Can we get this thing going?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
A few other things. Matt McClung is a really good dunker,
dude.
Hopefully they get some NBA guys to dunk. Because we're headed towards just getting professional dunkers, which is fun. And
entertainment
probably is a professional dunker, but he was awesome.
Mac McClung gets drug out for the dunk contest like Shamu every day at 2:30 at SeaWorld. Just here, come do your performance and then go back to your cage.
Yep. Cool note from Nick Crane just now. 3 players get solo podium press availability tonight. That would be Jason Tatum, Steph Curry, who is the hometown hero, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
That's awesome.
So
that's big time.
Justin, I'll be honest with you, I did not watch a minute of Friday night. And
I did not either.
I am proud to say I did not.
If Kaysen had played, I would have tuned in, but he didn't. Yep. I'm with you. However, speaking of Shai and All-Star Weekend, some reports from Nick, who was there in person, who is there in person currently. Really cool launch event for the Converse Shai 001, his first signature sneaker. Nick said Shai's face was literally everywhere in the Bay Area, and that's super cool. The whole launch event was cool. He had Lil Yachty show up for a performance. Looked like a big kind of release party going on. Nick said there was a lot of different people in attendance. Was it last night, I believe? Got to show off his shoe. He wore it in today's game. Like, really cool to see Shai elevated to that tier. Mm-hmm. Like you said, getting the solo media availability. It's pretty special to reflect on as a Thunder fan of the number of times that we've been spoiled by having a player on that level, and to find ourselves back in that situation with Shai once again, it's pretty incredible. If you rewind to the day he got traded to Oklahoma City, if you had told me back then where we'd be in 2025, I'm not sure I would have believed you.
I wouldn't have believed you.
Yeah.
Just straight up, you know?
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of done talking about All-Star Weekend.
Last thing I'll say, because I like shoes. Dub's Kill Bill shoes tonight, pretty awesome.
They were cool.
Pretty awesome.
They were cool.
And I like that he said, I think Daniel Bell got a video of his answer where he said he reached out to Adidas to see if they do a PE that was Kill Bill themed, and they said no because they don't do stuff with blood. Makes sense. So in true Dub fashion, he just went and found a guy who made customs and wore those instead.
That's awesome. All right. Anything else from All-Star Weekend?
No, it'll be interesting to see what it looks like next year on ESPN. Will they go back to a traditional format? Just get more basketball on the floor. I think the entertainment stuff, I will say this, I'll shout out Mr. Beast, a thing I never thought would happen before, but like even that was kind of fun, right? Like it doesn't have to all be like a serious basketball game. Like we know what this is. It's All-Star game. It's mostly for kids. It's supposed to be fun. Like the Mr. Beast $100,000 shot thing had my kids on the edge of their seats. Like that was great. A lot of the other stuff, not so great. So just find a way to make it all fun, and I think you'd have more people on board.
Agreed. Good for that kid, too.
Good for that kid. It was super awesome, especially when the players came over and started making it rain on him.
I'm glad Steph missed. Or not Steph, I'm sorry.
Dame.
Dame missed.
Yeah.
Because if Dame would have made it, that'd been kind of rude.
I also like that Rumble was one of the first mascots over to congratulate the kid, probably because he has so much practice with the number of mid-first bank shots that get made in the Paycom
That's
Center.
true. That's true. Pretty cool little thing for that, though. Like, I thought that was fun.
Agreed.
So, Justin, you want to do some Prairie Trivia?
I would love to do some Prairie Trivia.
Just the
you
two
have
of us?
questions for me?
I have two.
Oh, all right.
Coming from our guy, Smoot.
Smooty Patootie.
Shout out Smoot for supplying some trivia questions tonight. Smoot, we appreciate you. Prairie Trivia brought to you by Prairie Artisan Ales. Justin is hammering a seasick crocodile right now.
Indeed.
You can get Prairie beers at their tap room in downtown OKC. Go out, get a beer, hang out, watch some basketball. You can also get them at liquor stores all around Oklahoma and outside of Oklahoma. We've had a lot of fans reach out and say they've gotten Prairie from a lot of different places all over the country. So make sure to hit up some Prairie, support them, support the show. We would really appreciate that. Justin.
Yes, sir.
I have two, maybe three trivia questions for you.
Okay.
The first one. This one is from Smoot. He says, what coach has coached the All-Star game the most?
Oh, that's a good question.
It would be a coach whose team was in first place the most. Do you want a hint?
I would love a hint, even though I just finished writing my answer.
Eastern Conference.
Technically, my answer still works, but you're making me question it. I don't feel as confident now. I'm just going to roll
walk me
with
through
it.
what you're thinking before you show.
Okay. One of the all-time greats has spent time in the East. That's what I'm thinking.
I think I know who you put. Go ahead and reveal your answer.
Pat Riley?
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to go Phil Jackson.
I thought about Phil Jackson was the next name on my list.
Red Auerbach.
See, okay. When you said it, I almost erased it and wrote Red or someone from the Celtics, but
yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Next one.
Yes.
I want to make sure I get this right. The Thunder currently have their best win percentage at the All-Star break in franchise history at 81% win rate. What is the second best win percentage that the Thunder had entering the All-Star break? And can you guess the year?
Oh, okay. That's fun. What is it this year?
This year is 81.
81. Also, Smoot in the chat says Pat is second with 9.
There you
that's
go.
Fun.
Nice.
I'll take that as a moral victory. All right, 81% this year.
While you do this one, I'm gonna go. I have to take a step away from the podcast studio to go get trivia question number 3. I'll be right back.
Wow, that sounds so mysterious and exciting. Let's see. If 81 is the best, somewhere in the 70s feels right, but that also feels really high. I'm gonna go somewhere in the low 70s, played a little conservative. And we're going to say 20. All right. Locking it in. I'm not going to tell everybody, even though Jacob's not here, and I guess I could. Well, yeah, I think I'm locking it in. This is taking longer than I expected. I don't know how else to stall. I'm going to just tell y'all what I put. I'm going to say 72%.
All right, Justin going 2013, 14, 72%. The correct answer is 2012. 79%.
79. Wow. That's higher than I
79.
expected. It's a lot of wins. And yes, Matt in the chat, I am in the Hornets Valentine's jersey tonight.
That's awesome.
Little festivities.
All right.
For this
I did
weekend.
this research the other day, Justin. I thought about posting it in our Discord, but I didn't
Okay.
because I wanted to save it for trivia. Similar to Smoot's question. The Thunder got their 10th loss of the season on February 13th. When you
Don't remind me.
When you exclude lockout years, that is the latest in the season they've ever got 10 losses. Can you guess the year and the date of the last time, or like the closest to like the 10 loss mark?
Sure.
If February 13th is the latest in the year, what was the second latest? What's the
Not
date?
counting
What's the year?
shortened seasons.
Not counting shortened seasons. For instance, the 11-12 season, that season started on Christmas Day.
Yep.
And they made it to March 16th, but that doesn't count.
Got it. I'm feeling like I might want to write the same season down that I just did. I'm going to say... All right. I am saying January 18th of the 2013-14 season.
You are close. It was the 12-13 season, and it was
Again.
January 23rd.
Okay. Solid. I thought about changing it to that since that's exactly what happened on the previous question.
Yeah.
Should have done it.
So here you go. Shortened season 11-12. Their
Yeah.
10th loss came on March 16th.
Mm.
12-13 was January 23rd. 14-15 was November 19th.
Wow.
15-16 was on Christmas. 16-17 was on December 13th. 17-18 on November 24th. 18-19, December 14th. I'm going to stop naming the years and just go November 22nd, January 29, but that was the COVID year where
Right.
the Thunder's first game was December 26th.
Yep.
November 20, November 21, January 3, and then this year, February 13.
That's insane. That's a wide range.
If they would have won that Minnesota game, their 10th loss might not have come until what's the date this Friday? February
21st.
Something like that. That's wild.
That is wild. That's a long ways into the season.
It is. Let's take a break. On the other side, we can talk a little bit about what the rest of the season looks like for the Thunder. And then we will get out of here. A little bit of a shorter show today, since there's not a lot of Thunder hoops to talk about. We will be right back. All right, we are back. Justin, the Thunder are sitting at, give me a second, 44-10.
Indeed.
That means there are 28 games left. In these last 28 games, the last 2 months of the season, what are 2 or 3 of the biggest things you are looking for out of this team as they prepare for the postseason?
The easiest answer for me is full strength Chet. It's what I've been waiting 54 games for. It's like I'm ready to see this team at full strength with a full strength Chet. I feel like I got a little Chet teaser before the All-Star break, but it was very clear it's going to take him a minute to get up to speed. He definitely looked gassed. He's not playing back-to-backs. I want to see him continue to ramp up, and I want to see what the potential of this team looks like when he is hopefully looking like he did to start this season. If he can get back to that, which I think is what I'll be watching coming out of the All-Star break, is like, when can we feel like that level of play from Chet is attainable? When do we think it can be consistent? When can he not be skipping half of the back-to-backs? Like, maybe that doesn't happen at all this regular season. There's a world in which that's just how he plays through the rest of the year, because you're not going to have back-to-backs in the playoffs. You don't technically have to do that. Mm-hmm. But I want to see what this team looks like when he is kind of back to Chet. It's just the possibilities are endless. And I think that's all I've been dreaming about since November. So I'm excited. It was very exciting to see him play against Toronto. I'm excited to see him continue to progress and hopefully have more games where he's looking like his old self and less games where he's looking like that last Minnesota game.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of have a feeling that coming out of the break, it might. I think that those pre-break games were the on-ramp. And now
for sure.
It might just be time to go and he just plays. That'll be interesting to see. But I'm with you. I think specifically offensively. I think defensively it's been there.
Yeah.
I think
Agreed.
defensively has been interesting because he's been guarding much smaller guys in the two big lineup. So I'm also interested to see if that's the lineup they just stick with. That's the lineup I would just stick with and work out the kinks there. Even in some of the slower parts of that two big lineup, the connectivity is there. It's just the timing is off, or guys are dropping passes or whatever. But you could start to see it. And that's exciting. So I just think it's going to take the offense a little bit of time to ratchet back up for him, which is unfortunate. But he's got 28 games to get it. I think the other thing, it's kind of along the same lines as Chet getting back to Chet, is getting to see what this team looks like when everyone or near everyone is healthy.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've played a single game where the entire roster is good to go. And I don't think that's hyperbole either. I think it's legitimate. Now, they're not going to be fully healthy because AJ Mitchell is still going to be out.
Going to be a while. Yep.
But I think coming out of the break this Friday night in Utah, I think everyone but AJ will be good to go. Kaysen should be back.
Should be, yep.
Caruso should be ready. I mean, Jang has been injured, but when the team is healthy, there's no minutes for Jang. But if that's the case, then their starting lineup will be Shai, Dort, Dub, Chet, Hartenstein. And then I think your first five off the bench, even though they've been playing J-Will a lot, I think your first five off the bench are Kaysen Wallace, Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Alex Caruso, and then Kenrich Williams or Jalen Williams.
Yep.
And it's
a good rotation.
That second unit defense is probably top 20 in the league. And that's not a joke, like that's just how freaking good they are. So it'll be fun to see them finally at full strength and get to see what the defense unlocks.
I totally agree. It's been a wild season, and to have the kind of success they've been having in spite of the injuries they've been facing has been even more impressive. But I agree, like just seeing what these rotations look like. You mentioned how much Chet and Hart have been playing together. I think we talked about this before, but that's just a function of we haven't gotten to see that on the floor, right? We don't have the sample size. We have a decent sample size of Chet, no Hart. We have a really good sample size of Hart, no Chet. We have a very, very small sample size of the two of them together. And outside of those two, which obviously has a lot of attention because it's the two bigs, there's so many other lineups up and down this roster that we haven't gotten the sample size that you might expect to have in mid-February because of the injuries. And I think as they head toward the playoff, finding different combinations that maybe we haven't seen a ton of minutes on the floor is going to be fascinating. There might be some unlocks there that could find a new lineup that they're able to exploit in the playoffs that we just haven't even seen yet because of the combinations of guys hasn't all been healthy at the same time. And I think that's really fun. I don't know how much of it is correlated to that, but kind of in tandem with that, it feels like some guys are breaking out of their shooting slump. You hope that continues post All-Star break, but guys like Isaiah Joe, who've been on fire lately, Alex Caruso, who've been hitting their shot more consistently lately, if they continue to do that, and you have some more pieces to play with in these rotations, that becomes really intriguing. And I think that's where, like, you can plug, you mentioned the defensive prowess of some of those bench guys. Isaiah Joe being one of the weaker links on defense, but like if he's shooting like he's been shooting lately, and you go run 4 defensive nightmares from the bench unit plus Isaiah Joe, that is a very scary lineup for other teams, and a very impressive lineup that Oklahoma City can go out there while resting their starters and maybe still, you know, they're not going to be negative minutes. They're minutes that you can still find a positive in, which has been a little bit hard to come by for this team this year.
For sure. Pulling up some stats here that I wanted to share real quick, just sorting by the Thunder over the past 15 games. These numbers are kind of wild, dude. I'm going to filter out like really end of bench guys like Brandon Carlson or Alex Dukas.
How dare you?
Last 15, as far as 3-point shooting. Isaiah Joe, 47.5% on 6.5 a game.
So good.
Dort, 43% on 6 a game. Caruso, 42% on 3.5 a game. Chet, 37% on 2.5 a game. Shai, 37% on 5.5 a game. Aaron Wiggins, 35 at 5 attempts a game.
That's awesome. Up and down. That's awesome.
So the shooting is just at another level. Last 15, you look at scoring, it's Shai at 35.5 on 51, 37, 90 splits, including 4 rebounds, 6.5 assists, 1.5 steals a game. He's an average of a plus 14.5.
Just a handful of 50 burgers whenever he feels like it.
Last 15, J-Dub, 22 points on 48, 34, 73, but 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 1.5 steals. Wiggins, 14 points on 50, 35, 87 splits. Joe averaging 12, Lou 11. Hartenstein, nearly 10 points and 11.5 rebounds and 3.5 assists a game, which is awesome. So a lot of individual guys have really started to round the corner with this team. I think specifically you kind of know what to expect from Shai and Dub. And to a large extent, like Isaiah Hartenstein, like Isaiah's just going to get you 10 and 12 a night and like 4 assists, 5 assists.
Yep.
But I think the big ones are the Aaron Wiggins turning the corner, Isaiah Joe's shooting coming back around, and then anytime Caruso's on the floor, the defense is just absurd.
Yep.
But the offense
so
starting
good.
to round the corner for him. Yep. I think those are
that
3 really
changes a
big
lot.
things.
Yeah, that changes a lot. And I think all those things, one of my other big things I was going to say that I'm looking out for is I want to see this team find an identity when Shai's not on the floor.
Yeah.
There's been moments where they've looked really good. There's been lots of moments where they've looked really bad. And obviously Shai is who he is. He's a superstar. He's the MVP favorite. I think that's still true. He's an unbelievable player. But the basketball gets so ugly at times when he goes to the bench that, you know, obviously his minutes are going to go up when you get to the playoffs. So like the amount of time you have to worry about that goes down. But teams that are great are able to not just like weather the storm, but at least, have moments where they can extend the lead when their stars off the floor.
Yeah.
Like those are the moments that can turn a series one way or another. This team just doesn't have that identity yet. I think all the things we've talked about up to this point, injuries is a big part of that. Poor shooting to start the season is a big part of that. Some of those things are turning around. So what does that bench unit identity look like when Shai's sitting on the bench? How can this team not just squander whatever goodness Shai does out there? Because I think that will absolutely be something teams will obviously be aware of heading into the playoffs and look to try to exploit.
Yep. I think one way you could really do that is staggering the bigs and that second unit being J-Dub and Hartenstein.
I agree.
I think the playmaking of Hartenstein would really, really help that bench unit, especially since there's no AJ Mitchell, who I thought was really good for that bench unit, even though he's a second-round pick rookie.
Agreed.
Justin, do you want to go through the rest of the games and just rapid-fire win-loss and see where we end up with this team at the end of the season?
How many games left? 30?
28.
28 dubs, buddy. I know how this game's played.
Excuse me. Let's do it real quick just to see where we land. It's also important to note that I was having this discussion with my buddy and podcast listener, Brennan McGlasson. I don't think they are going to play everybody down the stretch, considering they're still 8 games up.
Yeah.
On first place. I don't see them. What's the point in the last 5 games of the season?
You don't want to be chasing wins late in the season that you don't
exactly.
need to.
Okay, so let's do this. I
get to ignore that fact when
let's ignore that fact right now.
Deal.
We're gonna start with at the Utah Jazz this coming Friday.
Win, please.
At the Minnesota Timberwolves Sunday night.
0% chance they lose that one twice. That's a win as well.
Okay, 2-0. Second game of a back-to-back. They come home Monday night, play the Wolves again.
Gotta win that one as well.
Okay, so we're at 3-0. 2 days later, they are at Brooklyn.
That has to be a win.
2 days later, they are at Atlanta.
Also has to be a win.
Okay. 2 days later, they are at San Antonio.
Buddy. For my own personal well-being, that's got to be a win at San Antonio, though I could see some funny business happening because it seems to.
So we're going win?
We're going win.
Second game of a back-to-back. Right after that, they are in Houston. Or sorry, they come home to play Houston.
I could see that being a loss. This team's been really good on back-to-backs, and they've actually been pretty good against Houston this year. Yeah, give me a win.
Oh, my goodness. Sorry, I got to start keeping track here.
How many wins in a row is that?
7-0.
Okay, yeah. 7-0 out of the All-Star break. That feels
1,
good.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 days later, they are at, at Memphis.
Give me an L in Memphis.
Okay.
Just to keep myself balanced.
2 days later, back home against the Portland Trailblazers.
Win.
2 days later, at home, a noon tip against the Denver Nuggets.
Give me an L in that one, too.
The next night, they run it back with the Denver Nuggets in OKC. So 1 loss, 1 win there.
Yep.
2 days later, they are on the road at the Boston Celtics, a Wednesday night 6:30 tip.
Oh, buddy. Give me an L.
Okay. They get 2 days off, and then they play Saturday in Detroit at 6 p.m.
Win.
Detroit's been good this year, man. Good for
They
them.
have been. Shout out to them. They're up to the 6th seed.
The next night, they are a second game of a back-to-back in Milwaukee.
Man, other than the cup game, there's no reason to think the Thunder wouldn't win that one. I'll say win.
Okay. They get 2 games off or 2 days off, and then they are back home Wednesday night against the Philadelphia 76ers.
That's a win.
2 days later, Friday, they are at home against the Charlotte Hornets.
Also a win.
Then they go out west a little bit. They are on the road on a Sunday night against the Los Angeles Clippers.
L.
L against the Clippers.
That didn't feel good to say.
And then they are 2 days later in Sacramento against the Kings.
Win.
They come back home for a stretch. The first one would be the Memphis Grizzlies.
Get that revenge win back home.
I like it. 2 days later, they are at home against the Indiana Pacers.
Pacers always seem to make them play funky. Give me a win.
2 days later, Monday night, a homecoming for Josh Giddey with the Chicago Bulls.
That's got to be a win.
Does Josh get a video?
Yeah, I think he does.
You think he gets a video?
I think he gets something. I don't know that it'll be like a long video, but I think he gets something.
2 days later, they're still at home. They play the Pistons again.
Win. I love how many times you've said 2 days later during this segment, by the way.
Yep. Off a night, and then they're back in Houston against the Rockets.
Win.
They come back home for a Sunday-Tuesday doubleheader against the Los Angeles Lucas.
Give me a win in the first one and a loss in the second one.
You got it. Second game of a back-to-back. They play at home against the Lakers, and then they fly out to Phoenix.
Win.
Phoenix is packing it in by then.
Phoenix
2 games left.
Was been packing it in since November.
They are, after that Phoenix game, they are on the road against the Utah Jazz.
Please win.
And then the last one, they are on the road against the New Orleans Pelicans.
Win.
All right. So if my math serves me correct, it's not going to serve me correct. We got to we got to pull up a calculator real quick.
How many losses?
Hold on. Justin, let me do math. All right.
Okay. This shouldn't be that hard.
This would have the Thunder ending the season at 67-15.
That seems good. And that, I feel like, was me trying to be conservative a little bit.
Okay.
Which is insane. That 67 wins is a conservative projection.
If they stay healthy, I think they're probably favored in all of those games.
They should be. Now, obviously, like you said, like rest, injuries, who knows, right?
Mm-hmm.
The end of the season, anything after the All-Star break gets weird. I also think this is where you start to see, this is like the stage in the season. I was thinking this as they lost to the Timberwolves, where you see teams have more uncharacteristic losses than they do maybe earlier in the season. Like it happens to everybody, unless you're the 73-9 Warriors. It happens to everybody. And it's probably going to happen to the Thunder. There's some games on that list that you overconfidently mark as a win that are going to be lost, just like that Timberwolves game. Like there was no way you look at that, especially with the guys that were out, and think the Thunder lose that game. But they did, and they got boat raced. And that's going to probably happen again at some point.
Yep.
But anywhere in the ballpark of 65 is an insane season.
Totally agree.
Insane.
Totally agree. For the record, in these final 38, no, not 38, I'm sorry. 28, right?
Yes, 28.
They have 5 back-to-backs. They have that Wolves home and away. They have that Spurs Rockets home away.
Yep.
They have that Denver home. They have the Pistons Bucks home or away. I'm sorry. And then they have that Lakers Suns home away.
Yep. This is kind of crazy. I looked this up out of my own curiosity. We know that Thunder's best season, 60 wins in 2012, 2013. Do you know, I know we don't like to acknowledge the Supersonics history. Do you know the best season if you include the Sonics?
Probably like 62, 63.
64.
64. So they got a chance to beat it.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah.
The 95-96 Sonics went 64-18. The 93-94 Sonics went 63-19. And the 97-98 Sonics went 61-21. It's a heck of a stretch.
Yeah. There is a stretch here from March 2nd to March 10th where they play 6 games in 9 nights.
Yeah, that'll catch up to you.
The last 2 are the back-to-back home games against Denver.
Yeah, that'll catch up to you for sure.
Yep. That's a lot of games.
Especially with how Denver's been playing, and who knows, Jamal Murray might be clicking by then.
So, interesting stuff. I don't know. I think that might do it. Any other thoughts, Justin?
No, I think as fun as it would be to watch this team rattle off an insane amount of wins, like I said earlier, you don't want to find yourself chasing meaningless wins that you don't have to. And that's what I'm going to keep reminding myself over the next couple months is like the random mid-March game against the Clippers or the Timberwolves or the Grizzlies does not matter in the grand scheme of things. It does not matter. And with where this team is at and the lead that they built in the West, I thought Nick actually said it really well the other night when he was like, does anything that happens the rest of the season, does it really change what they've done up to this point? Now, maybe anything is a bit too drastic, but I think in general, like we know what this team is. At this point, it's about continuing to tinker, continuing to refine and iterate and head toward the playoffs. And that's when the real fun and anxiety begins.
Absolutely. It's going to be fun, though.
It's going to be a blast. I can't wait. If the NBA Cup was any like foretaste of it, games of consequence for this team are so much fun. And last year, like you had some of that, but it wasn't the same. The expectations, because of how this season has gone, are off the charts and probably ahead of schedule. And it's going to be a blast.
Real quick, the Thunder are 8 up on the 2 seed. It's going to be really hard for them to not be the number 1 seed.
Exactly.
Like really, really hard.
Really hard. With 28 games to go, that's a huge swing.
Yeah. Like if the Thunder won 20 and lost 8, which I think is a fair assumption that they will do, right? That might be a little conservative.
Didn't I just pick 7 losses or something?
You picked 5.
Oh, okay. Well,
so if they go 20 and 8, that means Memphis has to go undefeated.
Right. Exactly.
I don't think that's happening. Like, hot take. I don't think Memphis is going to go on a 28-0 win streak.
Well, now they are because you said it.
But last thing, when you look at the standings right now, Thunder have a massive lead on the 1 seed. You have Memphis. Denver's a half game behind Memphis at 8.5 back. Rockets are only 2 games behind them at 10.5.
Yep.
Lakers are 11 behind, so they're just right on Houston's tail. Clippers are 2 behind the Lakers. Timberwolves are 1 behind the Clippers. Mavs are 1 behind the Wolves. Kings and Warriors are tied, 1.5 behind the Mavs.
Everything after the Thunder is really fun.
Yeah, it's all within 1 to 2 games.
Yeah.
Even down to the 11 seed Suns and then the 12 seed Spurs. And then even the 13 seed Blazers are at 21.5 behind. They're only a game and a half behind the Spurs to get up to 12, but they're pretty distant ways from the Warriors at 10. But Portland kind of turned their season around. I don't know if that's good for them or not. And then the Jazz are at 31 games behind the Thunder. So,
yeah, still a chance.
So, but yeah, after the Thunder, 2 through 10 is all up for grabs.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Which, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
It's gonna make predicting their playoff path really fun down the stretch.
Definitely. And you know, the thing is, we did this last year as well. When you're the 1 seed, you don't know who your first round opponent is until 2 days before you play them.
Yep. And think how much the path changed on the literal last day of the season last year. It'll be a blast.
Yep. I don't think we're going to be sitting on the edge of our seats on the
No,
last
I
game of
would
the
hope
season
not.
this year.
I would hope not.
If they are, something very bad has happened.
Yeah, right.
So, all right, Justin, I think that'll do it for us.
That'll do.
We podcasted much longer than I thought we would for All-Star Weekend. But hey, thank you guys for tuning into the show. We really appreciate it. Appreciate all the support. Hey, if you haven't yet, we have a Patreon. You can go join that, hang out in the Discord. We do some live watch parties, like in the Discord, not in person. But sometimes we do in person as well. But the Patreon gets you like watching games with us, bonus pods, all that type of stuff. So if you're into that, you can go join the Patreon. You can find us on our social media channels, and we will be back. I guess we're going to do a show Wednesday. I don't know. And then Friday night, we'll be back for a post game against the Utah Jazz. Until then, you guys have a great start of your week. We will see you later on. Until then, Thunder up.